meeting of the Asbury Park Planning Board. This meeting is held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in the following manner. The annual notice was forwarded to the Asbury Park Press and posted on the municipal bulletin board. All notices are on file with the Planning Board Secretary. Fire exits are located on the east and west sides of the council chambers, as well as the rear of the building. I would ask anyone with a cell phone or other electronic device to kindly put on silent mode for the duration of this meeting. This meeting is being recorded by APTV, and if you would join me in a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I think the first thing we have to do is the resolution for Irene. Roll call.
Today is Monday, May 6, 2019. All present stay here. Councilwoman Yvonne Clayton. Mayor John Moore.
Here.
Jim Henry.
Here.
Michael Manzella.
Here.
Trudy Syfax. Jennifer Sauter.
Here.
Alexis Taylor. We'll mark her as here.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
She's not.
Rick Lambert.
Here.
Barbara Krizak.
Call Yvonne Clayton.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a quorum to conduct business. So while we're waiting for Alexis to arrive, you can go
So
through
the
these.
first order of business is to adopt a resolution to appoint an interim board secretary. Irene.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I second it.
Roll call. Call roll with the members in attendance.
Councilwoman Yvonne Clayton.
No, you don't have to call.
Oh, just
Only
who's
those
here.
members in attendance go right down the line.
Mayor John Moore.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Michael Manzella.
Yes.
Jennifer Sauter.
Yes.
Alexis Taylor.
Not here.
Rick Lambert.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and I sent you all resolutions, resolutions, so we'll have that signed by you, if you don't mind, Rick,
Sure.
when we're done. So that'll take care of that. Okay, done, next.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the April 8th regular meeting. Move to approve.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
All eligible? All of you were here for that meeting?
I think so.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote.
Mayor John Moore.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Michael Manzella.
Yes.
Jennifer Sauter.
Yes.
Rick Lambert.
Yes.
Thank you.
So now we do a brief adjournment.
Well, you can skip down, or any of the committee updates tonight? Are you going to pass them all on?
No.
None?
Should we do the resolutions?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, do we have, do you
We have
have
three
any
resolutions,
resolutions,
Um, do you want to do the professional?
Don't we have the bike pedestrian master plan?
Yes.
And the conflict
Yeah.
planner and the conflict
Yes, why
engineer?
don't we take care of the master plan, bike plan?
Do the resolution for
Master plan amendment for
master
the,
plan
yeah, if you want to,
amendment for a circulation element for walking and biking.
yeah, typically the last page will list the eligible members that voted in favor of the action. Do I have them listed on that?
Yes.
Yes. Rick Lambert.
Yes.
No, let's get a motion. Let's get a motion to adopt the resolution. Any questions on the resolution that's prepared? All the comments that I received from Michael, thank you, were incorporated in there, so it should read pretty well.
Yes.
If there's no discussion, could we have a motion and a second to adopt the memorialization resolution?
Can I get a motion to adopt?
Move it.
Second.
Okay, so Irina, your motion to adopt was Mayor Moore and a second was Jim Henry?
Yes.
Okay, now your roll call of the eligible members here.
And Mayor John Moore.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Michael Manzella.
I can't vote on it. Abstain.
Oh,
No, he was, he
sorry.
can't.
So if there's only 4 of us, can we not do
No.
it?
No, you can.
Jennifer.
No. Oh, wait. No, this isn't just a memorial, this is the, We already voted.
Resolution.
This is a memorialization,
Yeah.
so a majority of those in attendance that voted in
Right.
favor is okay to adopt a written resolution memorializing formal action of the board. So 4 members are up, that's fine. We're okay. Even if one person showed up that is eligible to vote, that one person votes in favor, the memorialization resolution is adopted.
Correct.
Because the formal action was
already
taken
done.
at the prior meeting. So, go ahead.
Jennifer Sauter.
Yes.
And Rick Lambert.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, make sure you note on there that Mr. Manzel abstained, please. Thank you.
Did you already do the contracts for the planner, engineer?
Contracts would come
Regular?
second, you just do the resolutions,
The
the contracts.
resolution.
Yeah, just do I think we did the resolutions, but I don't remember.
For the conflict, we do for the
No,
conflict?
Not
well,
for the conflict. for
Yeah, I
the-
don't think I think we did for the,
for the regular staff, okay.
Right.
Conflict, we did not.
right, that's what these 2 resolutions are.
Yes, there's 2 resolutions there. One is for the conflict planner, which is T&M, and one is for conflict engineer, which is T&M.
Right.
So would somebody, if there's any discussion on either of them?
Any discussion among the board?
Okay, would somebody like to offer one?
Sure, move to approve the resolution for conflict
Can we
planner.
adopt both of them at the same time, or do they
No,
have separate?
do them both separate.
Second.
Planner?
Planner, conflict planner.
And who seconded that?
Jim.
Jim.
Okay. Let's give Irene a chance here.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Manzella moved it. Mr. Henry seconded it. Who's the second on that?
Okay, Mayor John Moore.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Jennifer Sauter.
Yes.
Rick Lambert.
Yes.
That's it.
Mike can also.
Mike
I can vote on it too.
Oh, you can vote.
Yes, he can.
Yes, and I vote
He's
yes.
eligible on this.
Okay.
And he actually moved it.
Sorry, Michael Manzella.
Yes.
That's okay.
Move to adopt the resolution for conflict engineer. As Tina says.
Yeah, you got a motion to adopt the resolution by Mr. Manzella, seconded by Mr. Henry.
Okay, Mr. Mayor John Moore.
Yes.
Michael Manzella.
Yes.
Jim Henry.
Yes.
Jennifer Sauter.
Yes.
Rick Lambert.
Yes.
Okay.
And board attorney.
No, we did that.
Those resolutions.
We did that.
That's it.
The permanent staff members, I believe, have been done.
Yes. We did them.
Okay,
Few
so
minutes.
you can put them aside. The contracts just need to be signed by the staff members to the vendors and by chairman, which can be done anytime. You don't do that by motion.
That's the only other business we have.
Okay, we're doing good, getting right through the agenda. All we need to do is get another person and we get move these applications.
So should we
Well,
have a
it's only
short
10 after.
break?
Take a 5-minute recess and see what happens.
So we're still waiting for Alexis Taylor to get here. She's stuck in traffic. So we'll adjourn for just a few minutes, give her time to get here.
Right.
I'd rather do that than have to move to another meeting.
This one, I think we have. Yeah, this one is new. So they could do that one if they want to move it 5 people.
Summer experience?
I'm sorry, 1 second. Asbury Partners, is anyone?
Jack, are we in recess?
Oh, okay, did you vote to go into recess?
No, we didn't. No, we did not.
Okay, so can we table that for a second, please? Can we table that for a moment? Just a
Yes.
moment. Okay. Asbury Partners, this is a brand new application, or it's
Right.
amended, okay? We've got 5 eligible members. Any conflicts with anybody? No. So, Andy, it's your application. I have 5 eligible members now that are, oh wait, it's not yours.
No.
Jennifer, sorry.
Yep.
You have 5 members here. We can wait, we're gonna wait a few minutes to see if Alexis shows up. You wanna proceed with 5 or you wanna wait for a 6th?
We can start now.
Okay. Okay, so what we can do is we can reverse it,
Sure.
and then we'll get to CNC second, I suppose, first.
Okay, so this application is Asbury Partners LLC, 216 Cookman Ave, Block 3802, Lot 1, Block 4004, Lots 2 and 3, in the Waterfront Development Zone. Application is Summer Experience Project.
So while we're waiting for the applicant to come forward, why don't we get our engineer and planner sworn in?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give during this proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your names and your affiliation for city, please.
Michael Sullivan, Arcade Hints, Planning Board Plan.
Jason Fisher, Board Engineer.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, for the record, I reviewed the notices. They're in proper form. The board has jurisdiction to proceed with this matter this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jennifer Porter. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Asbury Partners LLC, in connection with their application for an amendment of the preliminary and final site plan approval that was granted in connection with the Summer Experience Project by this board back in 2016. The Summer Experience Project originates and its roots go back to 2013 when it was first proposed as an interim use in connection with the city of Asbury Park as a way to provide public facilities and public amenities for beachgoers and individuals coming near and far to enhance their overall city of Asbury Park experience while they're here. It has become a successful and integral part of the city and the waterfront experience over the course of the past 6 years, and it has evolved over the course of those years, which is why we've been before this board on a couple of occasions in connection with different components of that use. In terms of what we're proposing today, the scope of our site plan modifications are very, very limited in nature. Essentially, we're here to talk about the change with regard to the use of what was formerly known as the Information Center. That will now be taken over by Tandem, which is an indoor cycling facility, and we'll give you a little brief background in terms of that proposed use and what they're all about, and what they'll be doing in connection with the day-to-day operations at the site. In addition to that, the only site plan modifications that we're seeking and will provide testimony on tonight relate to signage changes in connection with the Tandem use and minor landscaping modifications, and then the removal of certain items such as the crew tower, which we'll touch upon. Just for record-keeping purposes, this application relates specifically to Block 382, Lot 1, which is located at 216 Cookman Avenue. The two other properties that were noticed and identified as part of this application were only included as part of this application because in connection with our application to City Council as the redevelopment authority, we wanted to continue the use of existing signs on those property. No site plan changes are being proposed whatsoever in connection with that, and so those are not really part of our planning board application. And in addition, we'll also provide testimony this evening about the longhouse and how that will be utilized in connection with the Tandem use. We have with us this evening Mary Claire Panati from Tandem, who's going to give you the brief background on Tandem and the operations. Thomas Bauer, our landscape architect, again will provide brief testimony on the minor landscaping and signage modifications. We have Robert Curley from Mazer. He's simply here to answer a few of the questions that were raised in the Insight Engineering report and address those questions specifically. And then if the board so desires, we also have our planner present who can talk about how this proposal is in keeping with the objectives and the goals of the waterfront redevelopment plan. If you have no further questions, I'll call my first fact witness.
Any questions from the board? Okay.
Ms. Panati?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give during this proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name for the record and please spell your last name.
Mary Claire Panati, and it's Pennotti.
Thank you.
Ms. Panati, can you please provide your job title?
Yes, I am the founder of Tandem Cycle.
Great, and could you please describe for the board what Tandem is about?
Yes, we are an indoor cycling studio currently located in Manasquan, New Jersey. We provide a workout for the community. We opened in Manasquan 4 years ago, and we've done several pop-up rides within the Asbury Park community that have been very well received. We've been at the lanes twice now within the past 2 years, and have had a lot of requests for us to have a more permanent space in Asbury Park, which is what led us down this road and what we're looking to do through this partnership.
Great, and can you please describe the goal and community objectives associated with Tandem?
Yes, so since the beginning, Tandem Cycle, the name and our business plan was derived from giving back to the community. So we say you're riding in tandem with the community around you, as well as your own personal goals. And currently, we partnered with Donors Choose, which is a not-for-profit organization where teachers can post projects that they need help funding, and we choose a project in Monmouth County each month that we donate a percentage of our sales to. And with this Asbury Park location, we would be looking to partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Asbury Park and work with them to better the future of the youth.
Great, and can you please describe your day-to-day responsibilities for Tandem?
Yes, so I am there every day. We're open 7 days a week. We run classes 7 days a week. And do you want me to speak to the number of classes we have per day?
Sure, you could talk about the number of classes per day and then the hours of operation.
Okay, so on average, we have anywhere between 3 to 5 classes a day, beginning earliest 5:30 a.m. and ending our latest class in the evening at 8 p.m. There's a lull in the middle of the day, but other than that, we're operational evening and mornings.
Okay, and approximately how many riders are there per class?
About 15.
Okay, and how many classes per day?
Anywhere between 3 and 5.
Okay, and is this a membership-based club?
It's not. We offer single sessions where anyone can come in. It's a diverse clientele that we have in Manasquan. We're looking to bring that to this community. We, take walk-ins, and there's also the option to reserve your spot in advance online.
Okay, and how many employees do you anticipate at this site?
At this site, we usually have between 2 to 3 front desk staff and overall 8 instructors, but it's one instructor that would be teaching, one specific class.
Okay, and how will trash pickup be handled at the site?
We would use a private hauler. It's a minimal amount of trash production, so on an as-needed basis.
Okay, and what types of deliveries are anticipated in connection with the proposed use?
Again, pretty minimal. We have a towel service that comes twice a week for pickup and delivery of towels that we use for the bikes.
Okay, and how do you anticipate using the Longhouse building in connection with the Tandem use?
We are hopefully planning to do outdoor rides there, bringing the bikes outside in the nicer weather.
Okay, and lastly, when is the facility hoping to open?
We would love to open as soon as possible, given that Memorial Day is right around the corner. The summer months are pretty important to us. So pending approval, we would love to get started right away.
Great. I have no further questions.
I have a question. How many bikes do you anticipate going into this area, this location?
15.
15. Okay. 15.
15.5.
Describe what you're saying, what are these classes? Describe what a class is.
So our signature cycle is a 45-minute indoor cycling class on a stationary bike, where there's an instructor in the front of the room, and then the 15 clients being led by the instructor through the class. It's a total body workout.
You start at 5:30.
5:30 a.m. would be the earliest.
But none of your outdoor pop-ups would be, because west of you is Wesley Grove is residential, so that
Right.
wouldn't be until.
Later in the morning, exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So take consideration of the planners and
No. Any other members of the board? Members of the public who want to cross-examine?
any questions from the public for this witness?
Anyone want to cross-examine the witness?
No.
No?
So the issues in the planners report and the
Well, that she
We're
can
gonna,
step down.
right, we're gonna
Yeah,
speak to the
week.
next witness, yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call our landscape architect, Tom Bauer.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you give during this proceedings will be the truth. Excuse me, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, it is.
State your name for the record and spell your last name.
Thomas Bauer, B-A-U-E-R.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'm sorry, if I may, Mr. Bauer has testified consistently on this application and other matters before the board, so he's previously been qualified.
Okay.
Great. Mr. Bauer, can you describe the existing site and proposed modifications?
Certainly, I sure can. The plan I'm referring to is sheet L1. It was submitted to you previously as part of the application. There are several modifications to this plan. They include a rendered portion of the plan. Several of the landscape trees have been highlighted in keeping with your planner's request in terms of their size. And we've added some detail as well based upon your engineer's request.
Let's have that marked as
A1? Okay.
Michelle, thank you.
Okay, so for orientation purposes, this is the block we're talking about. To the north is Cookman Avenue, to the south is Lake, the east is Wesley Lake Drive, and to the west is St. James Place, and as you mentioned, Wesley Grove, immediately adjacent to our west. The site has 3 buildings on it. This is the building in question for a tandem where the indoor cycling will take place. The longer building is appropriately named the Longhouse, and then we have a small restroom facility in the back. This is the parking lot, as you know, the cars in the front of the building entering off of Cookman and St. James. The simple changes that we've made include some landscaping and some signage. The landscaping is, as you may recall, in the past we've used some palm trees on the site. We're no longer choosing to do that. We'd like to be a little bit more environmentally friendly and more in keeping with the palette of material that we have on site now. So we're adding some black pine. The darker trees in this location, as we're seeing, are the 6 to 8 foot evergreens, and then the lighter color tone of green is the 8 to 10 foot evergreens, a little bit taller. They're in 3 clusters as shown on this plan. That's the extent of the landscape improvements. And then in addition to that, we have some signage. We have a sign on the corner that exists today. It says Outpost, if you recall. We're going to change that to show this as tandem cycle in this location. And then we have a sign in the front of the building as well. Let me show you the larger graphic of each one of these. This is the tandem cycle change graphically that will be in the front. As you recognize, the black pines as a backdrop existing, and then the new graphic on that sign. This will be lit from the existing lights in ground as floodlights, as it is today. So there's no change to lighting, just the graphic sign. And then the signage that is on the building
Ms.
from.
Bauer, hold on 1 second.
Yes.
Jack, do we mark each individual?
Yes, please.
This is A2 is the tandem cycle sign. And then A3, I trust, will be the front elevation graphic. Today, if you look at the front elevation of the building, there's a numeral 200 above the front door of the building. We're going to relocate to the column on the right side of the building. Left side as you're entering, right side as you're leaving. We'll say 200 in this location. And then the tandem cycle logo, which will be backlit with a halo light, as we refer to it. It's a aluminum sign, aluminum letter with LED lights behind it, so it has a halo effect of very soft light against the facade of the building. And that's the second sign change. The building will be painted white, and this is now A3 is the tandem, the front building elevation with the signage, and that is the extent of our investment in landscaping and signage.
And could you speak to the removal of the crew tower or
Yes,
any
absolutely.
other,
Thanks
anything
for
else?
reminding me, Jen. There is one change to the site that I did not mention. There is a crew tower, as you may recall, structure that's kind of an entry element at the corner of Wesley Lake and Lake Avenue. We are removing that crew tower. Everything else will remain the same.
A question. First of all, I'm really happy about the palm trees change. And you said you mentioned black pines because you already have black pines on site. Is that the main reason you're?
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever
We have black pines on site in the front. All these other areas that are being rendered are existing black pines, and they're thriving, doing very, very well.
Okay, I was just wondering the reason if at some point if we could include some native pines instead. Only because I noticed that there's a lot of black pines, so I figured they were trying to match them.
We are. We're trying to keep a simple palette of plant material, and we think it's appropriate.
Was that recommended by the Environmental Commission?
I did not speak to the Environmental Commission, but my guess is that they would love that it changed from palm trees to black pine.
Wasn't that one of the conditions that the city council imposed on this, that you were supposed to run this
I'm
by?
not aware there was a condition, Jen, are you aware of that?
In their resolution to?
I know that there have been ongoing discussions with the city over the course of some of the prior approvals in connection with the use of the palm trees. And ultimately, because they were traded out every year, the applicant decided it was best to move to a more sustainable
Yeah, the palm tree is
plant
basically
species.
an animal, it doesn't survive a winter frost.
Well, it may be that the Environmental Commission may have other thoughts concerning the black pine. And I thought, that I read here somewhere that in the recommendations from the city council, sending this to the planning board, that you were to run this by the Environmental Commission and get their input from it.
If I may, Jim? Page 2, Resolution 2019-104, subsection 2, amongst other things, it says, further, the council continues the recommendation that the planning board permit the master developer to substitute another suitable and available tree species in the event the proposed palm trees fail to survive the weather, subject to the review and approval of the board's planner and/or the Environmental Shade Tree Commission, but without the need to seek an amended site plan approval. So it sounds like it's either an and/or, either the planner, board planner, or environmental. That's what's there. And by the way, we should incorporate this. My resolution is just a copy, but I know that this resolution is how the applicant is here. So, Madam Secretary, if you will, the original of resolution number 2019-104 that was sent to us by the council, let's incorporate that into this application as B1. So that's how they got here. Thank you.
Then I'd like to direct my question to Michael.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Same
He's
question,
on the
right? What's your take on the black pine?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
The existing facade of the building is the paint splotches, the blue and, is that right?
And it makes it painted white.
Right.
Any other board questions?
Any other questions for the board?
No, that's it. Any
Ross?
questions from the planners and corporate professionals? Any questions from the?
I just want to say, Mr. Bowers addressed all the comments relating to signs and landings that were in our report.
Open to the public for cross-examination.
Warner Baumgartner.
Want to step into the microphone?
Yeah, but why don't you come?
Oh, you set one up?
Yeah.
Oh, new process, huh?
No.
Well, since a while.
Hello? Okay,
Sean, pick it up. Picking them up.
Warner Baumgartner, Fifth Avenue. I'd like a little more detail on your testimony regarding the sign and the lighting related to the sign. Is that a two-sided sign or a single-sided sign? And what's the orientation on the lot? Could you point it out on the site plan?
Sure can. Or the sign on the corner is a single-sided sign. This sign exists today. It says Outpost. It's a black sign with white letters that say Outpost today. It will be changed to look like this. It's white with green letters, raised aluminum green letters.
Okay, and you had testified that there would be spotlights illuminating that
There are
sign?
existing uplights, as you can see in this photograph. On A2, there are uplights that shine from the ground up to illuminate the sign.
Okay, are appropriate measures being taken to prevent light pollution or spillage or glare into the public realm
Yes.
from those lights? Okay, great. Regarding the site plan itself, I know this site, I've seen it before, go by it frequently. There's turf grass and sand or gravel as part of the major landscaping components, correct? You're not proposing any changes to that?
No, we're not.
Okay. In a couple of locations within this block, the sand or gravel abuts the curb, is that correct? Could you point out how many places where the sand or gravel abuts a curb or a public sidewalk?
There may be 4 small areas where it abuts the curb.
Can you Michael Zepp.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Are you aware of the location of storm drains around this block?
Yes, sir.
Could you point out where the storm drains are?
There is a drain in this location. And there is a drain, I believe, on this corner as well. But I know that for sure there is one.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, planning board members. This gentleman that spoke before me, I'm Bill Macklin. I live on Ocean Avenue, 1701 Ocean Avenue. This gentleman that spoke before me is very illustrative of the projects that you present and you're hearing. I made this same comment at the council meeting. These presentations that encroach on the oceanfront, which I understand this does. Now, I'm not that familiar with the town. I've only been here a couple of months. They should be presented graphically. I doubt very much, with all due respect to the intellectual community here, that you can fully understand what you're looking at with these flat presentations, pictures. When you encroach on the oceanfront, a piece of property that you are stewards for, important stewards, you should know exactly what this layout represents.
You got a question, Mr. Macklin? This is for
Thank you.
questions.
Mr. Macklin, can you spell your last name for me, please?
Spell your name.
Can you spell your last name for the record?
We need
Can
you
you
to
spell your last name for the record?
I'll try and remember. Mackolin.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? No? Thank you. Public comment?
Is there any other witnesses?
Yes, we have our site engineer briefly to address some of the items in the insight report. Mr. Curley? He's also previously appeared and testified in front of this board many times.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you give during this proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
State your name for the record.
Robert Curley, C-U-R-L-E-Y.
Thank you.
Same situation with Mr. Curley. He's appeared before you
Okay.
dozens of times.
Great, so Mr. Curley, did you review the plans and comment letters in connection with this application?
I did.
And can you please address item number 2 in the insight engineering report concerning existing utilities?
The existing property has a sanitary sewer connection and a water connection that are not going to be changed. There's no proposed construction on the site other than the removal of the crew tower. So there's really no construction, no new facilities being installed.
Okay, and can you please provide an update on item number 3 in the insight engineering report on the prevention of sand leaving the site and entering the sewer system?
I've been to the site over the past month at least 3 times. I went there just before the meeting this evening. There are areas that the landscaping and sand areas abut the curb line. There is no erosion that I saw this evening. There may have been in the past, but it's maintained. So.
Okay, and can you please address the sufficiency of parking for the proposed tandem use, which is item 5 on the insight engineering report?
Within the waterfront redevelopment zone, there's no parking requirement for commercial uses. Right now, we have 12 parking stalls. There's abutting the property, there's parking on street, and then immediately across the street, there's an existing parking lot that could be used for any of the patrons. So there's three means of parking: on site, on street, and then the adjacent parking lot. All of which would be sufficient to support the use.
Okay, and would this parking also be sufficient for the proposed utilization of the Longhouse building in connection with the pop-up rides?
That's correct.
Okay. And are there any outside approvals required in connection with this proposed application, which addresses item 6 on the Insight Engineering Report?
Again, with the lack of construction, there would be no need for additional approvals.
Okay. And will the existing lighting on the site be sufficient to accommodate the tandem use? Again, addressing item 7 on the Insight Engineering Report.
There's an existing light fixture within the parking lot, and then there's 2 other light fixtures that are the same street type fixture that are abutting the property, and the parking lot is sufficiently lit.
Great.
And it is as was previously approved.
Okay. I have no further questions.
I just have a couple of questions for Mr. Curley. Mr. Curley, on the 2016 approval of this, the site condition as is, number 6 requires the applicant to construct a barrier of some type between the sand and gravel and the sidewalk. You say that has not been done?
No, it has not been done. That's
okay.
correct.
And so that's something that has to be done then to meet the requirements of the prior approval, correct? That's number 6 on the...
The 2016 resolution from the planning board?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know what they mean by, this is a temporary facility? Is this, Mr. Curley, the proper person to answer that?
Well, again, this use was approved by the council as far as within the waterfront
No,
redevelopment.
the prior approval was, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It was approved by the council. What's the definition of temporary?
Again, this was previously approved by the council, and the original approval was for a 3-year period.
Correct.
And was extended.
Correct.
And was just recently extended. Again.
So your temporary is another 3 years, is what you're saying?
That's correct. They're seeking another 3-year extension of their
Okay.
approvals.
And what is meant by pop-up events?
That would actually be something that would be addressed by the applicant by tandem in terms of what they're proposing as pop-up events at this site.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to ask that question, that a pop-up, like what kind and how many?
Okay. I can bring that witness back to answer that question.
I don't have any other questions for Mr. Curley.
Before we move on from this witness, with the barrier between the sand and the curb, what was intended to be, I wasn't here for the planning board approval in 2016, what was intended, strip of sod, you said? Okay.
As I recall.
Any other questions from the board? From the professionals?
Just one.
Okay. Any questions from the audience with this witness? Or no?
Yes, thank you. Warner Baumgartner, Fifth Avenue. Regarding testimony regarding the existing lighting for the parking lot, are measures being taken to fully shield those fixtures to prevent glare or light trespass onto public realm?
Those fixtures exist today, and they were installed as per the original approval. The 2 fixtures that I spoke about that abut the site are within the street right away, and those are street lights. So
Okay, regarding then the street fixtures, regarding then the fixtures that are on the property, are you willing to mitigate any light trespass, glare, or light pollution that emanates as part of this application?
there's a single fixture on the property. It's the same as the street lights that are on the adjacent right of way. There's no reason to shield other than what currently exists, and there are no shields.
If they're deemed to be a nuisance, are you willing to mitigate the nuisance?
Again, these are the same street, these are the fixture that is on the property is the same as the street light. The street lights are a nuisance, then I guess there's a problem with the fixture that was originally approved within the waterfront redevelopment zone.
Okay, all right. We'll take that up later. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thanks.
Any questions? Any
Okay.
additional questions?
I can briefly call back Tandem to answer that one question.
Sure. The pop-up events. Hi.
Hi.
My question is, can you define the pop-up event? Tell us what kind and how often?
Yes, so are you speaking in reference to the longhouse use of the outdoor?
It's your application. You
Okay.
tell me.
So pop-up is in reference to, in nice weather, us bringing the bikes outside and using that longhouse space. Our main goal is the operations inside the studio to start off with. So only a handful of times we would use the longhouse for those pop-up rides that we speak to in the
Okay.
application.
You said you have 15 bicycles in that, in your space?
Yes.
You gonna bring all 15 out? Or you gonna bring,
We haven't gotten that far yet. In the past, we've done half, so it could be anywhere between 7 to 15 bikes that we would bring into that space.
okay, and you're gonna run classes? Classes, you can run those classes that you testified about?
Correct.
Okay, so it's gonna be 3 to 5 per day?
We usually just do them in the morning, so it would be 2 in the morning.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. These pop-up events are going to be in nice weather,
Correct.
okay, and you're gonna bring 7 to 15 bikes out twice a day in the morning? Well, you bring
Leave them out
once
for 2 classes, yep, in the morning.
in the morning. Okay.
Can you walk him through an example of a pop-up event you had, for example, the one perhaps
Sure,
at
the
Asbury Lanes?
So an example of that would be what we did through Cycle for Survival at Asbury Lanes, where we brought the bikes from our Manasquan studio and set them up and broke everything down, brought it back inside, kept the area clean, pre and post.
How often would you estimate that you were going to do these events?
I think realistically, in the warm weather, between the summer and October, only a handful of times, maybe 4 to 6.
Is there anything that triggers that type of event?
We host charity rides frequently, and it could just be something that would be on our schedule, an event for people to look forward to. People enjoy being outside during those nice months of summer, so it would be kind of a perk.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to get motion for public comment?
Yeah, no, not public comment. Anybody have
No
any
questions.
questions based on this?
Further
testimony?
questions?
None? Okay. So then, witness can step down. Do you have any other witnesses?
We have one remaining witness, Mr. Hughes, our planner.
he's needed.
Where as of right, it's minor modifications, so he would really just be speaking to the overall objectives of the waterfront redevelopment plan, which everybody's testified to already. So if the board doesn't need it, we certainly don't
Once
need
the
to.
governing body has deemed that this is consistent with the redevelopment plan, it's a permitted use, so there's no use issue here.
Okay.
So, if you're ready for public comment?
Right. Do we have any motion for that?
Yeah.
Move to open public comment.
Second.
Anyone in the audience would like to make any public comment about this application?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you give during these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Warner Baumgartner, city historian, Fifth Avenue. When this site came before prior approval several years ago, I had testified before this board about the landscaping being a environmental issue regarding the sand that was testified to along the curbs and public walkways running into the storm drains. Every time it rains, the sand gets washed into the street, right over the curb, and down into the storm drains. The board at that time agreed that that was a problem, and a condition, which I think was read into the record, was put into the resolution to mitigate that by putting sod as a barrier to keep the sand or gravel off of public curbs, public streets, or public walkways. So I would certainly suggest that that be demanded at this point, since it was not done, even though it was part of the resolution for the prior approval. I would suggest it be mandatory at this time before anything else goes forward. Regarding the lighting, I still have some concerns about the lighting. The testimony is that, well, it's a pre-existing light and it's just like the one in the street, so it should be okay. Well, that's not necessarily true. lighting is additive. When you add light fixtures, the light levels add. Just for layman's terms, if you have a 60-watt bulb impinging on a surface and you put another 60-watt bulb 10 feet away from it, the light adds together. So even though the street lighting may be a certain set limit or a certain what is comfortable lighting level, the fact that you're adding on-site lighting that's on the private property that impinges on public space may increase the lighting levels in public space. So I think that that's disingenuous to say, well, it's a lighting fixture that's already existing and it's just like the one in the street, so it doesn't matter. I think a little more study is needed about the lighting. I'm not sure, I'm suggesting, and I would hope that the board agrees, that light pollution is a problem. And we should do everything we can to prevent light pollution, so that should be a condition of this approval also, so that the lighting levels don't increase to the point of being a hazard or a glare problem for the public in general. Those two things are the only things I have an issue with. It seems like a great project. One other thing, the nature of temporary, that gets thrown about all over the place. Is 3 years appropriate? Maybe you might consider like a 1 year as being a temporary use for something like this, and then going forward, see if it meets the requirements or the conditions that the city requires. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, nice have it. Okay.
So,
Now to vote.
Yeah, can we
Discuss and vote.
Well, I definitely think the comment from the previous resolution about the barrier is definitely needed.
Number 6 of the 2016.
And if the language can be stronger, then so be it.
Yes.
I think Werner also makes a pretty good point concerning the lighting. I don't think it would be too difficult to shield that lighting so that we don't, without existing light, so that the light does not spill off site. Can you address that, Mike?
Well, I do have concerns. The first concern I have is that it's already been built and designed to function however it's functioning in terms of parking, in terms of the site, and so that it's been deemed to be safe as it is now. I haven't heard any evidence presented that says that there is a glare problem. I mean, that may be somebody's guess, but I'm not sure that it is. And not knowing the fixtures, it may not be so simple as to just apply some sort of screen or shield to that. The fixtures on the street are round fixtures, and you can black out parts of those globes or cylinders, if you will. But it's not something that we can, sitting here, I couldn't create a condition that everybody would understand that would make that site safe. So without them changing the fixtures or modifying the lighting plan, it's hard for me to get a handle on what's going on out there and to be able to advise you on what that condition could be. The only condition would be go do testing, come back and tell us how it works, and then we'll decide if we want to change it, which is quite a lengthy process, I think, for something at this level.
I had a question back to the barrier. So it was mentioned sod. Do either of you have opinions about that barrier, what it should be?
I think that would work. I remember that vaguely, the more we talked about it from the prior application, and I remember being comfortable with it then. I think that would be fine. Be a nice filter.
How wide?
What is the space available?
Jason?
I guess, Tom, you're under oath.
Yes.
How many pieces of sod?
I think one strip of sod is all you need. That's the curb line.
Yeah.
So we need 18 inches.
18 inches.
18 inches? Is that what it is?
Yeah, and we can agree and absolutely provide that.
So, any motion?
I just wanted to make one comment. I know it's the comment about the black pines came up again, and his testimony was that it was decided because it was similar to the other plantings, and I think that's fine. I just want to make the comment that any opportunities to, especially since you have the sand landscape, which feels like you're trying to be a dune, that any time that we can, especially in these waterfront areas, have plants that are native to dune landscape, the better, in my opinion. But it's much better than palm trees.
Yes. I'm just curious where the palm trees went when you took them out.
Florida.
Where?
They trucked them back and forth.
To where? Where were they kept?
Florida, they own a plantation.
Serious?
Yes.
Okay.
I would suggest that we make a condition of approval also the Environmental Shade Tree Commission approval of the additional pine trees.
Why?
There was a concern about them being appropriate for the site.
You know, Mike, you make a good point. The Environmental Shade Tree Commission is, by the ordinance through the city here, is responsible for the approval of such trees. And they should have some input. Generally speaking, I think that the black pines would be sufficient, but it should be run by the Environmental Commission and let them have their input. I mean, this is one of the requirements of the city council sending this application to the.
Well, right, we actually read through the resolution, and the specific condition read that it would be at the discretion of either the Environmental Commission or the planner, and we heard testimony from the board's planner as to his opinion regarding the use of that species. And also from the applicant's perspective, it causes a very big timing consideration, because this use is intended to primarily function and it's essential to its overall functioning that it be done in the warmer months, in the summer months. And so by virtue of a delay to go to the Environmental Commission, the very real concern is that they wouldn't be able to open in time and in adequate need of getting their brand out there in order to serve the public as they wanted to do this summer.
Okay, I'll rescind that condition then.
So can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the application.
With conditions?
With
Term
the,
of 3 years.
with a term, yes, go ahead.
Usual WRA conditions, prior approvals not affected by this still in effect. Anything Jason's report, compliance with condition number 6 from the 2016 resolution, installation of a strip facade 18 inches in width. Anything else?
That covers it.
Okay.
Motion to approve with those conditions.
Second.
Mayor John Moore,
Yes.
Jim Henry,
Yes.
Michael Manzella,
Yes.
Jennifer Stouter,
Yes.
Rick Clapper.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Application approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So
Mr.
Alexis
Chairman,
is not here yet.
It is almost 8 o'clock.
Should we, I mean, should we take a few minutes, or what should we do?
How long,
You see if I got, let me see if she texted.
how long was the first thing? I mean, can I listen to it now for an hour? I mean, I was told this was a cut and drop, or else I would have listened to it before.
Well,
All right, I'm sorry.
That's.
I don't have any email from her.
No?
How long?
It was
Do
about
you
an hour.
have the transcript from the other meeting here that he could listen to it? No, just say, that- don't worry
I
about
can
it.
do it, but you'd have to sit here on my machine and listen to it.
I heard it was an excellent application. Again, I would
Yeah,
have.
but
Let's
Let me
do it
see
again.
how, Jack, let me see how long it was.
Yeah, if it's
Focus
something,
by that.
I don't want
Should
them
we
to
take
come
a short
back.
recess and recess till 8 o'clock? Can we do that? Give her a few
you
more
want to take
minutes?
a 5-minute recess, you can.
Jack, it went from,
Anybody have?
Hold on.
went over an hour.
It's over an hour, you have to listen to it.
So 8 to 9, and we come back at 9. You guys can all go to
Go Johnny Mac.
Andy's place, and by then I'll be up to
Can't say
date.
the condition we're gonna be in.
Again, I feel terrible. I did not listen to it. I knew this. Did anybody try calling Alexis to see if she's still on her way?
Well, can we take a short recess?
Motion to recess.
Second.
Try to.
Wait a second.
Till 8 o'clock?
Some
Motion.
things going on.
We don't have a 7-member board.
But next month,
Yeah, we're gonna meet.
Let me see.
It's a short meeting.
So,
Hold on. You might be. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we take a 5-minute recess?
we did that already. We had a motion. So I'll call Alexis.
Yeah, well, Andy's back next Monday, this coming Monday.
Yeah, there's only one, there seems to be only one application.
He's back.
Oh, okay.
It's a short application, so it's.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Oh, okay.
Call Alexis. Call Alexis. Call Alexis anyway.
Yes, that's right. So there is one next Monday.
If you-
I
if you have
was
it.
confused. Yeah.
Totally confused. I thought I'd be somewhere else tonight. I'm like,
See, I was told, as long as you have a quorum, then when something comes, it can pass 2 to 1.
You can't have the meeting without 5.
Okay, we had the meeting, we started the meeting, and there's 4 people here that heard it, so we passed 4-0.
It needs a majority of the board to approve it, right?
Yeah, simple majority.
Simple of the board.
I've seen
I've seen
resolutions pass 2 to 1.
Resolution's different.
Apples and peaches.
Applications are
Applications, you need a
majority of the board.
Okay.
Yeah, the way it works is you have to have a quorum.
Highlighted it for me, was that
So
there
we have to
possibly
have 5
doesn't draw
eligible
my
members.
attention.
To adopt the resolution, it can be one member that shows up.
Oh, really?
Just a member, yeah, one member shows up and votes on something.
Okay, that's right.
And the resolution is just the adoption of a memorialization of the formal action that was done by a proper board.
So if we carry it, they're okay with that.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming back Monday anyway.
Okay.
So
Oh, that application, Monday application is here?
Yeah, it's here, so if it's here, this wouldn't take long. They did 90%.
Right.
That's the perfect, and January's gonna look good. And it's easy, and it's no
Why did they
maintenance.
have to come back?
That's why I was like, but I can, I mean, I know we can't.
Glass entrances or something.
I don't even remember.
Windows above the doors or something like that.
7:58 PM. Mayor John Mark,
Here.
Jim Henry,
Here.
Michael Manzella.
Here.
Jennifer Sauter,
Here.
Trudy Seifert,
Absent.
Alexis Taylor,
Absent.
Rick Lambert.
Here.
Barbara Kennedy,
Absent.
Councilwoman Clayton.
Absent. Okay, we have 5 members, we have 4.
Okay, so because we don't have enough members to vote on the application,
That's
then
correct.
we are going to carry it to the May 13th meeting
Without
without
further
further notice.
I move that we carry.
Okay. Andy, any extension of time, we have it?
Yes.
MLU up? Thank you.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Matter carried.
Mayor John Mark,
No,
No, we
You don't have to, you already got it. You're good.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
When can I pick it up so I can listen to it?